Maritime Made is presented by Nova Scotia Business Inc., helping to educate, inform, and celebrate our region's manufacturing successes, because great things are happening in all of our communities.
Dairy farmers across Prince Edward Island have been working together producing dairy products through Amalgamated Dairies Limited, or ADL, since 1953. 163 dairy farms across PEI process their milk through ADL, a farmer-owned cooperative, at 5 different processing facilities across the island, turning that milk into close to 30 different specialty cheeses, milk, butter, sour cream, evaporated milk, and ice cream. And it all starts on the family farms around the island. 12 loads of milk are delivered to this cheese plant daily. That's about 300,000 liters each day. When the truck arrives to deliver the load of fresh milk, the milk processor breaks the seal on both compartments of the truck and does a tasting sample. Before the milk can be unloaded, a lab sample from each compartment needs to be tested for antibiotics. No antibiotics are allowed in milk anywhere in Canada. Antibiotics are strictly regulated by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and every delivery is tested before the milk can enter the cheese production system.
2 samples are poured into the testing cup to blend. Using a pipette, milk is placed on an antibiotic test strip. The lid of the testing tool is closed and it heats up. If any trace of antibiotic was detected, the milk processor would reject the delivery. The test results are recorded. The remaining samples from delivery go to the lab for further testing, and the milk processor is ready to load the milk. The driver opens the pump hose doors, and the milk receiving hose is attached and secured. The milk processor opens the valve and starts the pumps. This truck contains over 29,000 liters of milk, and it's being pumped at about 950 liters per minute. The milk is being pumped into silos and will ultimately be made into Parmesan cheese today. The first step in the milk processing bay is pasteurization. Pasteurizing heats the milk and kills any possible bacteria. Here, milk is pumped in from the silos, through pipes, to what is known as the balance tank or supply tank. Next, the milk heads to the high temperature short time or HTST plate to pasteurize. The milk is pasteurized to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. The milk then moves through the holding tubes and gradually makes its way through overhead pipes into the cheese room. A chart recorder notes all pressures and temperatures, tracking the entire process. These charts are audited by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. During pasteurization, the milk processor also turns on the separator, which collects the cream to be made into butter later.
Today, the cheese plant is making Parmesan, Havarti, and feta cheese. Pasteurized milk is pumped into the Parmesan vat until it's filled. Then bacterial culture, lipase paste, and calcium are added. And lastly, rennet. The rennet is what makes the ingredients coagulate. When it's stirred in, it separates the proteins and captures the fat and brings it to the top of the vat. Only 10% of the vat volume is cheese. The rest is the whey. Blades move through the coagulation to cut the curd for about 10 minutes. For Parmesan, the cheesemakers want small curds, so it's cut longer than other cheeses. After cutting, it rests for 5 minutes to firm up the curd. Then it cooks for about 45 minutes. Then stirred a little more to dry the curd. Every temperature, measurement, and timing is recorded on the recipe sheet. Finally, the contents of the vat are transferred to a drain table for a process known as a dip or curd transfer. Forks move along the table, which is heated to 135 degrees, working the curds. The whey drains from the tables, where it is collected and processed further before being used for ingredients such as minerals and protein. There is zero food waste in this process. As the curds are stirred, the cultures are still active and doing their job. It continues stirring until the desired pH level is reached. Then, salting is applied. Parmesan has the least moisture of any cheese made here, at 30% moisture.
The next step requires the cheese to be transferred to the block former. 2 suction hoses are attached to the bottom of an auger. The gate at the end of the table is opened. Stirring forks are replaced with a shovel system, and the auger is secured to the table. The shovel pushes the cheese into the auger, pulls back, and pushes in more cheese. The auger suction system vacuums the cheese through hoses and pipes to the tower, or the automated block former. The automated line has been programmed to run this batch of Parmesan. In the tower, 20 kilogram blocks of cheese are compressed and shaped. First, cheese bags are loaded in the bag spreader. There are 2 towers operating at the same time. A block of cheese comes out of the tower and into the cheese bag. The technician folds the bag, and the block moves along the conveyor until it reaches the turner, where sensors automatically turn the block and it moves onto the scale. Here, the weight is checked. Then it moves along to another turner. The bag is laid flat to prepare for the sealer. Here, the lid closes around the cheese block, and the bag is vacuumed and heat sealed. The sealed cheese block moves along the conveyor to the metal detector.
Before each batch of cheese is run on this system, the sealer is tested for any air leaks in this tank. It's called the hog test. The metal detector is tested too. Different sizes of metal test strips are placed on top of a cheese block to test the metal detector's function and sensitivity. Once finished on this line, the sealed cheese blocks move up the conveyor, where they are weighed again, labeled, and palletized. This Parmesan will be stored in the cooler to age for many months. The on-site chemistry lab takes samples of incoming milk and samples from every single batch of product for microbial and composition testing. Even the production environment itself is tested daily. This ADL cheese plant has been turning out cheeses that are winning awards around the world, all from right here in the Maritimes.